Hello everyone and welcome back to my opinion. India have won the second test match in New Zealand by 7 wickets, becoming the first Asian side to win at this venue, and the series is squared. On the 11th of both sides starting off with India. In my previous video I mentioned two 11s, the first of which would be what I would have gone with and secondly the one I thought they would go with. And on the first one, I would have played Ravichandran Ashwin ahead of Shardul Thakur and Mukesh Kumar ahead of Prasidh Krishna. Jadeja would be back in the fold for selection for this game. And this would mean India would have two frontline spinners in Jadeja and Ashwin, who can also offer batting at 7 and 8, along with three frontline seamers in Jasprit Bumrah, Mukesh Kumar, and Mohammad Siraj. And at this venue on days 4 and 5, the ball will turn. So having two players who can offer something with a bat and do the damage to the ball on days 4 and 5 would be quite good. And you've got the three frontline seamers who do well in these conditions and more and can bowl the fuller lengths, which is what I discussed in my previous video. I think that would have been the best course of action for India going into this game. I didn't think they would do that, which is why in the second 11, I thought Avesh Khan would be brought into the side in place of Prasidh Krishna, as they named him as a replacement for Mohammad Shami after the first test, so I didn't think it would make much sense to bring him in when you weren't going to play him. I thought they'd drop Ravichandran Ashwin and bring in Jadeja in place of him. I don't agree with that at all, but I thought they would do that. And I thought they'd go with the one frontline spinner with Thakur, Bumrah, Avesh Khan and Siraj as the four seamers. And as for the 11 they went with, they predictably dropped Ravichandran Ashwin with Jadeja being the sole spinner, kept Prasidh Krishna and brought in Mukesh Kumar with Bumrah and Siraj retaining their place. And on dropping Ashwin, I knew they'd do it, but I don't understand it, where in the press conference leading up to the game, Rohit Sharma said he'd be backing his inexperienced players and he defended Prasidh Krishna, which is all good. However, in this case where you've got a bowler in Ashwin who was the joint best bowler along with Bumrah in the previous games. Those two were the only two that maintained any sort of economy rate. You're dropping him and you're backing the player that went at around 5 and over or so. It doesn't make sense. You're dropping proven pedigree who will be effective, especially on days 4 and 5 at this venue, along with Jadeja. They've got something to say. We only play one spinner overseas. That spinner will be Jadeja. I think it's a tremendous underutilization of the skills that a legendary bowler has got. And I mean, I don't. If there was in every other side, Ashwin would get a game. The fact that they've got this notion or this chain of thought that Jadeja will play overseas as the sole spinner no matter what, and they won't play together. I think it's a ridiculous thing, but I knew they'd do that. So Prasidh Krishna, who, as I said in the previous video, I've been mentioning the reasons at some point in this one. With the lengths that I'll mention it now as well. With the lengths that he bowls, he would not be suited to bowling in South Africa, but they've backed him to play in this game and they left out a legendary spinner like Ashwin. So I didn't agree with the call at all, but I knew they'd make it. On the South African side, in my previous video, I said that they should go with Wiaan Moeder at number 7, with the top 6 being the same without Bavuma and being there. The reason why I said they should go with Moeder is because they went with a 4-bowler attack in the previous game, which got the job done, but playing Maharaj in this game was a correct decision, and if they did that, he'd take a while to get into proceedings. So if you're relying on 3 frontline seamers and one of them goes around, you'll be relying on 2 seamers to do the bulk of the work, which would be difficult. Which is why Wiaan Moeder at number 7, who could offer some batting and some bowling as well, would be handy. Instead, they made 2 baffling selection calls where I don't know if Keegan Peterson was injured, but if he wasn't injured, I don't know why he was dropped. And if you wanted to drop him, you've got Zubair Hamza, who's been in good form off late. He could have batted at 4, which had provided more solidity. Instead, you played Tristan Stubbs. I didn't get that. And Lungi Ngidi, the thing is, does he add batting to the side? No, he doesn't. But even with a ball, as of now, will he be a potent option, especially when you've got the 3 frontline seamers to be doing the bulk of the bowling? No, it wouldn't be. And based on the overs that he bowled in this test match, they didn't even use him all that much, and when he did bowl, he went for runs. So there wasn't too much of a point in playing him, in my view. I didn't think he should be in contention for selection, but they surprisingly played him. So I thought they weakened their side going into this game. And finally, to top it all off, in his final test match, Dean Elgar won the toss and chose to bat first. Now, the stats say batting first at this venue is the right way to go about things. However, considering the situation, we saw what happened. Whichever side out of these two had batted first, they would have bowled out within the first session itself. And unfortunately, with Dean Elgar winning the toss and choosing to do that, then South Africa were going to be that side. So, tactically, off the bat, even before a ball was bowled, there was three things that South Africa did not get right. And that's why I thought going to the game, if they got their calls right, I didn't think India would get their calls right, but I thought if South Africa get their calls right, they'd be favourites to win this game and clinch the series 2-0. But straight off the bat, they gave themselves a disadvantage. The South African openers walked out to bat. On what unfolded in those first things, I think it was a precursor as to the challenges the batsmen had faced throughout this test match, as well as how they'd respond to it. Now, on the surface used, there were two reasons why wickets fell. Firstly, the steep bounce after the ball hit the cracks, and this did prove to be a problem, understandably so. Secondly, it was because of a poor shot selection. And the first 4 wickets that fell in this test match, I thought 3 of those were due to the batsmen gifting their wickets. And it's a case where, on ways you could respond to it, I thought there weren't as many leaves as there could have been, and especially when the ball was bouncing that much, I felt leaving the ball could have been helpful. We didn't see as many leaves throughout this test match. And second of all, on poor shot selection, you've seen someone like a Calvin Rayner in this game. I'm not going to single him out, but when I'm saying single him out is because you saw in both innings the shots that he played were talked about. But your side is 4 or 5 wickets down. You've hit a boundary off Mohammad Siraj, and very soon after that, you then play that kind of a shot and you get out. It just shows that when you're already losing wickets due to the steep bounce, and I get it, it was a problem. And if you lose wickets like that, then fair enough. But if you're also giving your wickets away to lose the other half of the wickets, then you've got yourself to blame. Was this an easy service to bat? No, it wasn't. The Indian bowlers bowled well. 55 all out was partly due to your own carelessness when you're batting, where rather than leaving the ball a lot more, even when wickets are falling and you've already got a boundary in some cases, the others were just hanging their bat out trying to go for another drive and were being caught at slip. So some very ordinary application from the South African batsmen in the first innings, and I spoke about solidity. Had Keegan Peterson or Zubair Hamza played on this type of surface against this Indian bowling attack, then you could have expected, you'd certainly would have got more than 55 runs if you'd played one of Zubair Hamza and Keegan Peterson, and if you had played Wian Motor at number 7 as well, who could have aided the scoring alongside Marco Jansen and KJ Maharaj. So I didn't get the selection calls, and the moment they won the toss and chose to bat, Elgar won the toss and chose to bat first. Did I expect 55 all out? No, but I thought the conditions would be challenging, and we saw what unfolded in the end. So fantastic performance from India in this first innings, and South Africa had it all to do after this kind of performance. On the Indian bowling figures, Mohammad Siraj taking 6 for 15 in his 9 overs. He used the conditions that were on offer, and I thought he was also helped by the South African batsmen throwing their wickets away at times. Another bowler who I expected to do well in this game, and I said he should have played in the previous game, this bowler being Mukesh Kumar. In 14 balls bowled 2 wickets and not giving a run. If he had played in the previous game, they wouldn't have given 408 runs at the very least. The game could have gone differently, but they certainly wouldn't have given that total that they did. And I didn't expect India to gain such an advantage after the first session, as I thought they'd get their playing 11 wrong. They got it more right than how I thought it would go. And now I thought, usually what happens in Cape Town is it gets easier to bat as the day progresses, and it's far easier to bat in sessions 2 and 3 than in the first session. So I thought the Indian batsmen had their chance to capitalize and secure a sizable lead. On the Indian first innings, looking at the scorecard, I thought they missed an opportunity. 39, 36 and 46 made the innings. There was nothing there apart from that. Now, you're 17 for 1, 105 for 2 going swimmingly. There was no pressure being applied at all. If there was a bowling performance that you didn't want after being bowled out for 55, it was this one. There was no pressure at all. About Rabada, no one looked even remotely threatening. Andre Berger then picks up quick wickets at 105 and 110, dismissing Shubman Gill and Shreyas Iyer. And South Africa may have their tail up going into lunch, but even though India are in a very good position. And even when you thought, right, could they continue their momentum from picking up the 2 quick wickets? No, they didn't, because they went from 110 for 4 to 153 for 4 with breaking no sweat at all. At that point, you think, we don't have to go for an expansive shot, because even then the thinking itself wasn't right. You think, after seeing a side being brought up 55, you think, let's get quick runs, because that could, or a similar thing could happen to us on this type of surface, rather than thinking, they're not bowling well at all. There is no pressure being put on us, where even when we could be under pressure, we're recovering. We don't need to go for an expensive shot. Just keep on playing the ball on merit and you will get the runs. Instead, KL Rahul does not go for that shot in any other case. He goes for that, and that triggers a collapse, an extraordinary collapse where they lose 6 wickets without a run being scored. And is this a justification for playing Lungi Ngidi? No, it isn't, because until then, he was doing absolutely nothing. I think he bowled the second over of the innings and it went for 13. And he bowled the second over ahead of Nandre Berger and Marco Jansen, which was inexplicable. And then they've lost 6 wickets for no runs, and it's had no impact on the game. We all knew India would win, even though that happened. They've won by convincing margin in the end. And Ngidi didn't even bowl in the second innings. So you may have got a Wian Moda who would have probably bowled for 5 or 6 overs like Ngidi did in the first innings. Would he have got 3 wickets, especially in that manner? Probably he wouldn't have. But you would have got more runs to play with than if you had got played Ngidi in the side. And you didn't bowl him in the second innings, so I didn't get that at all. Apart from Rabada's bowled 11.5 overs out of 34.5, where apart from him there was no other threat. So I feel this was the luckiest thing to have happened for South Africa in this game, because until then, there was no pressure. Like I said, if there was a performance you didn't want from the bowlers after being brought up for 55, this was the one. So this played into, once it played into their hands, it didn't have any impact on the game, but I thought they would have much rather that happened, of course, than the innings have gone on for a while. Consistent with past trends, I thought the third session would be the easiest to bat out of the 3. If South Africa could not lose more than 1 wicket going into the second day and would be watchful in the first session on day 2, they could capitalise and get back into the game. It looked like they could be on course to do that when Aiden Markram was going well and the opening partnership put on 37 runs. The moment it was 37 for 1, the game was in India's back pocket and it didn't look like it'd be getting out of it. I'll get to Dean Elgar in a bit, who dismissed in his final test innings of the bowling of Mukesh Kumar. I expected at least another wicket to fall before the end of the day's play, and 2 more wickets fell. Wickets of Tony de Zorzi and Tristan Stubbs, who, I repeat, I don't know why he was playing ahead of Keegan Peterson and Zubair Hamza. South Africa was 62 for 3 going into the next day. Now, even before the innings started, I thought if India batted well, this would be the key. I didn't mind them even chasing 200, where yes, there's some inconsistent bounce when the ball hits the cracks, but really, if you don't throw your wickets away, you should be able to chase 200 or so on this. So it's maybe not too much more than that, considering the situation, but I thought 200, India should be able to chase if they apply themselves. I didn't mind South Africa getting a bit of runs. And the only way South Africa had a chance of coming back into the game was to not lose a wicket for as long as they can for the majority of the first session on the next day, with David Bedingham and Aiden Markram batting for quite a while. And the first over of the next day, any hopes of a comeback were put to bed. A terrible shot from David Bedingham, another case where when you're not receiving an unplayable or a delivery that's tough to negotiate, you give your wicket away, and the way he did that as well. A terrible dismissal, especially in the first over of the day. And Kyle Verreynne, once again, I don't know what that was. From 62 for 3, you go from 66 for 4 to 85 for 5, and that was it. The game was done. Any small hope they had with Marco Jansen maybe stitching up a partnership with Aiden Markram also went, where he was dismissed, caught and bowled off Jahid Bumrah. So 103 for 6, I thought things would be over quickly, and it took a brilliant knock from Aiden Markram, 106 of 103, where before this innings, opening the batting, apart from on his debut against Bangladesh and recently against the West Indies, he's had almost nothing to show for it when he's opened the batting. So I still don't think he should open, but considering that, to play the kind of innings that he played in this particular game was fantastic. And he was the reason why the inevitable was delayed. They needed 79 to win India, rather than maybe 30 odd runs or so. So, a fantastic innings from Maiden Markram, and the next highest score was 12 by the captain on the previous day. So he really was this innings, and a fantastic knock on a surface where I'd say if you applied yourself, you could manage, but the ball did still veer up from the cracks, and considering the others were getting out in irresponsible ways a lot of the time, it was a fantastic knock. Expectedly, India chased a score down 80 for 3 in 12 overs, and I think since they completed it before 14.3, this in terms of overs, this is the shortest completed test match. And after suffering a hiding in the previous game where they got their selections and strategies wrong, a fantastic win for India, an overseas test win, especially when you haven't won at this venue before, and the first Asian team as well to win at this particular venue. And a series win would have been good, especially comparing the two squads. India would be disappointed that they didn't win the series, but across the tour, I think the first time since about 2007 or so where India haven't, well, when I say India, a touring side hasn't won a toss across a multi-format tour, and yet they've not lost a series. I think it's a great achievement, especially when you're touring South Africa. They would have won the T20I series had that game not been affected by rain. They surprisingly won the ODI series, which I thought they would struggle in, and they've drawn a test series after topping hiding. So a fantastic win for India in this game. And the Leeds team was Bumrah and Siraj standing out, taking 6 first in either innings. So a very good victory for India this innings. And overall, while they didn't win the series, they can be satisfied with what went on in this tour. And from a South African perspective, in the second innings, I talked about selection calls before the game took place. And a guy that took 3 wickets, a 3-wicket maiden in the previous innings, you're too afraid to bowl him in this inning. So what does that tell you? In the first innings, he's bowled 6 overs. Rabada's bowled 11.5. So you didn't want Ngidi to bowl really in this game after the first over, but you had to. And luckily, he got those 3 wickets. And even leading on from that, there wouldn't be a greater incentive in terms of momentum that a bowler could take to affect that again, or something similar again, and you didn't bowl him because you're too afraid to do so. So there was no point in playing him, in my view. There was no point in playing Tristan Stubbs. So the selections and the fact that they batted first, those are the 3 things that put them on the back foot in this game. Dean Elgar, fantastic play for South Africa. Going to this game, it said this would be like his World Cup, where his aim would be to win Test series. And unfortunately for South Africa, it's a drawn series, but he can be happy with the career that he's had. Where I saw a tweet, he averages 40 at home, and in a place like South Africa, it's a fantastic record, especially opening the batting. So one of the grittier openers in world cricket, and one of the more accredited Test match openers in the modern era. So he's had a great career, and I wish him well. So that was on this game. There have been some talk on the pitch, and I don't think the pitch was that bad. Yes, there were some cracks that caused the ball to bounce, and there was quite some bounce on occasions. However, it was still manageable if you left well, and also if you didn't throw your wicket away, we would have seen a higher scoring game than we saw. I fully agree with what Rohit Sharma said, and I've said this even before. On a subcontinental surface, it is perceived more as a minefield when the ball turns, when it doesn't. It's not like this case where the ball veers up from a length. The ball just turns a lot, and you've got to be able to deal with that as a touring side. And because they can't, a lot of the media from mostly the same countries, they lambast the surfaces. And Rohit Sharma's called for an equal standard to be adhered to when judging services, and he's completely right to say that. So they should accept what the services that India produce and what they will produce in the upcoming 5 Test match series against England. So let's see how that one goes. And yeah, I think a very good victory for India in this game. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, share with your friends. Remember, this is my opinion.